All right, what's going on, y'all? Today we're going to talk about how meekness is a value of actual true strength. So this is something I had so wrong for so long. And meekness is something we talk about so much in the Orthodox Church. You know, Matthew 5:5, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. We talk about this a lot in our services, our liturgies. We have this in our prayers. Meekness is something we talk about a lot, and we know is a value of a true Christian, a trait of a true Christian. But with that, I had this so wrong for so long. I thought meekness literally equated to weakness or someone who was weak. You know, I thought someone who is meek was someone who is weak. I kind of pictured someone who was maybe frail or was like a doormat, just let people kind of abuse them, toss them around. And while I thought of it in a positive way, since we have that in our prayers and all that, I didn't quite understand what it meant. And I had it so wrong. So meekness, rather than being equated to weakness, it's actually the complete opposite. Meekness is a value of true strength. So what meekness is? Meekness is someone who, despite having maybe insults thrown at them, having irritations thrown at them, they remain calm and they act in love and humility. So our greatest example of this is Christ. You know, Christ was spit on, was beaten, was persecuted. And despite all of that, even despite him being the Son of God and being completely justified to basically smite people, he remained silent and he remained loving and calm. That's a sign of true meekness. We have this as an example with our saints. You know, so many saints, despite knowing this is the true faith, or despite basically being pretty much our perfect examples of Christ followers, you know, they had many saints had many people attack them, and through that they still chose love and humility. So that's what meekness is. Meekness isn't necessarily being a doormat, but it's despite having worldly irritations, insults thrown your way, we still choose love and humility. A great example of this with the modern world is being a keyboard warrior. You know, whether that's someone attacking your social media posts with unjustified negative comments, whether that's you seeing a piece of content that kind of riles you up, you just know it's wrong and you want to comment. Someone who's meek most likely is not going to say anything, or if they do, it's purely based on love. You know, here's the reality is meekness is very much tied to the trait of humility. If you really take pride away, you're probably going to have a lot of meekness follow from that. So, you know, take this within your own personal life. You know, this could be, you know, your kids or maybe your parents, relationships you have, maybe your spouse. They do something that, irritates you, and maybe you'd be justified in every way. Maybe they do wrong you or insult you in a way you know you're right. If you truly are a meek person living with meekness, you're most likely not going to react at all. You know, that's kind of the whole thing. It's despite irritations coming your way, despite insults coming your way, you don't react. You don't react with negative emotions. You know, if negative emotions come up, you don't act on those. And this is something that if we truly live with meekness, this is how we can truly spread our faith. This is how we can truly walk the walk as Christians. You know, in today's day and age, you know, we are constantly as Christians being bombarded with insults, with people just frankly attacking us on every front. And how we react out of that is how we can be true examples of Christ followers and truly bring people to the faith. They'll see something is different with that person. I truly believe out of every quality we have, meekness is the quality that will look different to everybody else. You know, it's very justified in worldly standards to, when you get insulted or you get irritated, you get pushed, to push back. And by choosing not to push back and remain stoic, this is how we can bring people to the faith. So this is something I see with among my Orthodox brothers and sisters, something I've even had to deal with in the past is, when it comes to, maybe our Catholic brothers and sisters argue us on points of, true faith, or, the discussion with the Protestant church. I see so many of my Orthodox brothers and sisters getting so riled up when a Protestant argues us on, the Eucharist, or Mother Mary, Theotokos. The more we can remain meek in this, here's the reality, guys. We don't need to prove ourselves right. The only way to bring people to the faith is by us truly acting like Christ as much as we can, trying to become saint-like, because that's going to be the example that makes people think what is different about them. The more we can strive for theosis in becoming Christ-like, becoming like our saints, that's how we'll reach people for Christ. And that, really, truly, a sign of that is going to be you becoming more and more meek. This is why we talk about it all the time. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Those who are truly humble in spirit, humble in heart, act out of love, with humility. And a lot of time that means silence. If insults or irritations come your way, being silent, or letting it wash over you like water. Let's say your spouse does something to rile you up, or your kids do something to rile you up, or a coworker. And a lot of times people do it intentionally, especially, us as Christians. We have people, we know it's going to be intentional. We know, the demonic forces out there, we're going to have it thrown at us. And the more we can let it wash over us like water, be meek, be like Christ when he was being spit on and beaten, and he only remained calm and in love, many times silent, literally on the cross saying, "Forgive them, Father, for they don't know what they do." This is how we can reach people for Christ. And this is how we can also increase our own spiritual lives. We need to strive for theosis, and with that, a quality we absolutely need to have on the forefront of our brain and be striving for daily is for us to be meek. This is something that I intentionally work on and I'm not great at, but I pray to God that I gain more meekness every day. So I hope this is a little bit of an encouragement to y'all. Do what you can to strive for meekness. That comes with true strength. It takes a strong person to not react negatively when they're pushed. That takes true strength. I hope you guys found encouragement with this. If you did, please go ahead and smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you're not already. All glory to God. God bless y'all. Have a great rest of your day.